Right. Okay, so we will start with this next question. I may end up answering a little bit more of this from one of your supporters, Michelle. Will Just Gill book be translated into French?
Oui. Well, I think you say you have to answer that. I imagine it's down to demand, and if there are thousands of French supporters petitioning you to please translate it into French, I'm sure you would. But in the meantime, I can't imagine that's going to happen. I think I would love to think it's going to be great, wouldn't it? It was a big, seller, but the market I think is probably a little bit limited. And over to you, because I can't really answer.
Yeah. So translating it, you can do translations one or two ways. If there was enough demand for it, we could, as the publisher ourselves, get a translator, translate it, and publish it ourselves in French or in any other language, Spanish, German, Dutch. Or the other way is if a French publisher approached us and asked us for the rights. So as you guys kind of understand, we retain the rights to the book because we published it. So they would come and they would have to come and ask for a deal with us, and then we could sell the rights on to another publisher, be it a French publisher or a Spanish publisher, and they would translate it themselves and then print it themselves. So there's two ways we could do it. But you are correct, it would very much depend on if there was an audience for it, if we felt like people did actually want this. So if people do want this, let us know, and then we can see if it's a feasible option.
Well, I'm going to jump in there because I think everybody must realise that all the profits from this book go to Soi Dog. I mean, yes. As authors, etc., with everybody, and even the big publishers have done their bit in terms of to make sure the maximum goes to Soi Dog. The authors aren't taking anything. If it was rights were sold to a French publisher, for example, I would hope that, I'm not sure how it works with them, because the authors would still have rights, wouldn't they? And we could still say, well, we want the proceeds that would normally come to us from a French version, they go to Soi as well. What we don't want to see is a French publisher saying, right, I published it and all the profits come to me. So I assume there would be some business deal whereby they would have to pay you something, the authors would get something, and then they can say, fine, that's great, goes to Soi Dog.
So you can do it in a couple of different ways. So you can either do like a big one-off payment where they pay, just an example, they might pay $5,000 for the rights to the books, and that goes towards the foundation. And then maybe there might be some royalty deals, which was where you would get those continued payments. Or there might be a slightly different one where for every 100 books they sell, they give us the percentages. It really depends on the contracts which we write between us. I personally would think it'd probably be better to translate it ourselves, because then we definitely know that the profits are going to you guys on Soi Dog. But there are obviously hurdles with being, I know that Consuelo speaks Spanish, so when we translate books into Spanish, it's not so difficult because we've got people who speak Spanish in the company. None of us that I'm aware of, unless I'm about to find out that Consuelo speaks French, none of us that we're aware of speak French. So it would be hard. There'll be certain aspects that might be harder, such as proofreading and copy editing, because we wouldn't be able to keep such a firm eye on those. But there are pros and cons to both sides. There's probably enough of the technical nitty-gritty. So this one is about Cola, one of Gill's dogs. So the story of Cola went straight to my heart, and the death of Gill broke my heart into a million pieces. I'd like to know how Cola is doing and how he's adjusted to life without his Gill. And that's from Jackie.
I don't know if I can do this or whether it'll show up. I don't know if something's flying. Just a minute. Let me just unplug that and that. And let me just... You tell me if you can see him.
Yeah, there he is.
See him there?
Yeah, super happy.
Okay. See, he's chilled out, laid on the floor next to me. They're probably a bit fed up because normally they would be inside at this time. He's fine. He doesn't change. He's always happy, smiling. It's very difficult. We don't know, do we really? People say, oh, animals don't do this and they can't do that, but we know animals do have feelings. You can see it so many times. I do know when, because I still have Gill's car as well as the truck I use, and even if I was driving in, I'd use Gill's car, the dogs would all be run round to the side of the house to the gate. They can't get out onto the roadway, so they're enclosed, but they can get up to the gate if they hear something. Whereas they didn't if it was my truck coming in, because they were used to that. So that tells me they recognise the difference, and for quite a while they would come running up. And my guess is that mum coming back, because they don't know there's something missing. So it's difficult to know. We can't know what we did with all the dogs. I mean, I've lost 3 or 4 of the last since Gill passed away, just through old age. In one case, of old age, and also an accident. But we showed them all Gill's body, and actually not in the coffin, in the house. This was, it was in the house, and sort of showed. It was difficult to see any recognition, particularly. I think it was probably because she wasn't there. It was her shell. She was, Gill's no longer there. It's a shell. Gill's gone. I mean, whatever you believe, the spirit is elsewhere or whatever. And also, obviously, there were quite a few people in the room, so it wasn't like it was private. So you try and, I can't really, it's a difficult question to answer. But he's certainly still happy. I mean, I didn't see any sort of signs of unhappiness. I suppose I just think they're expecting that person to come back, and then when they don't, they probably forget, because in their lifespan now, it's, people talk about 7 years in life for a dog is put to 1 in ours. It's now it's well over 20 years since Gill, went. So it's a difficult question to answer. But he's happy now. He's happy as ever. I mean, how old is he now? 16. He's still only 4 to 5 years old. He was still young, a few months when he came into our lives in 2016. So yeah, he's 4 or 5 years old. And he's still, runs around. You see his leg, but he only wears his prosthetics when he goes on the beach, because otherwise he'll sit and chew and destroy them. And he's actually very capable. He gets around. I mean, there's steps there and whatever. If there's something at the bottom of the garden, you sometimes get the odd lizard comes up out of the lake or whatever, and he's off. He can shift. I mean, he runs like a kangaroo, basically, back legs up. And they're very strong, so he gets around very quickly. Obviously not as quickly as when he's got his false legs on, when he goes out for a walk on the beach, but when he can run around and play and everything else. And he's now on about his 5th set, and these seem to work the best. I mean, his blades, which are quite a famous video, we had to stop using because they would catch on this bindweed, and then they were always being pulled off. So that doesn't happen now, and very rarely do they come off. And I'm looking at him. Sorry, I'm looking away, but I'm just looking. I'm talking about him, so I'm not talking. You're behind your back, okay? With that. So yeah, he's happy. Does he miss his mum?
Yes, it's a hard one to answer. So again, this may be more aimed at us as publishers, but this is from Avril, and will it be available on Kindle?
Well, you better answer. I have no clue.
Excuse me. I can't see why we wouldn't put it on Kindle. It's got photo images in it, which might make it slightly different, but I don't think that should. Oh, there's a pigeon's just landed on the roof. So I probably will end up going on Kindle. No particular plans right now, but yeah, possibility. So I hope that answers your question, Avril. If it was to go up on Kindle, we'd make it known. We'd tell you guys, and you guys can publicize it, etc., etc.
Avril, forget Kindle, buy the book.
Yes,
Yeah.
buy the book. All money goes to Soi Dog.
I'm sure it'll be less Soi Dog if you buy it on Kindle, because that's Amazon, and Amazon will then be taking their cut. Yeah, for sure.
Yes, there is. Amazon do take a cut. It's a weird balance of. In a world without Amazon, we may not sell as much, but preferably we would like to not use Amazon so much. So buy the book direct, people, from either Soi Dog or from ourselves. If you're really desperate, then get it on Amazon. So Camira, I think is the name, asks, again, you kind of touched on this earlier on in this interview. Was it therapeutic to write the book?
Yes. It was. I mean, don't be wrong, I've sat, when I used to write it brings things flooding back, which is good. And there are happy, some of those make you smile, some of those make you cry, and there are in the book a couple of extracts from Gill's diary. Now, Gill didn't, I wish I'd have kept a diary, to be honest. Gill kept a diary only when we were on holiday, and not the year we got married. After that, every time we came to Thailand, she kept a diary. And there are some extracts from that. And when I read through those now, there's some personal things in there as well. It was good to be able to sit and read them again, to bring things back, to refresh in my memory. I just wish you'd have kept a diary all the time. It's the same as I wish now I'd had in those days, I'd taken film of us when we were in the UK. We used to go walk in the dales and the dogs and everything else, but that's sort of stopped. And most of the film I took in the UK, like all video here, videotape, this was before digital film, obviously, the humidity gets to it. And so I had all these tapes of films I'd taken which were just destroyed. I was able to get some of them restored to a degree. There's a guy in England who does it, and you send them by post, and he actually takes all the film out, soaks it in chemicals. Not very good quality, but at least now. And I hope this doesn't sound sad, but yeah, sometimes I will sit now and I enjoy watching home videos, okay? And some of them, it's emotional. Some of it is emotional, but at the same time, it's also can be happy. It brings smiles to my face, We're sort of laughing and joking, obviously. We used to seem to take most videos at Christmas, so we got the dogs on the bed and over opening their Christmas stockings, and it's funny, and then decorating Christmas trees and all this sort of thing. And I still, I watch those. Now, somebody once said to me, he said, 2 years and then everything is be fine. You need to move on, and I know Donna knows this as well. It's not true with her own situation, different situation. Everybody's different, and if somebody thinks I'm sort of, bring things back and I should put all that behind me and go, I'm telling them sorry. I won't use bad language, but I'll tell them what they can do, because I know what brings me. It can make me sad, but it can also make me very happy. The fact is, Gill is the love of my life. It doesn't matter if it's now or I'm still alive in 20 years. She's still the love of my life. And if somebody thinks I'm going to move on and meet, oh, you'll meet somebody else or whatever. No, I'm not, And now I'm in my 70s and but I'm still in my 70s and I'm not going to be meeting anybody else. Gill is my life. And I can have friends and I'll meet people and whatever, but no, I'm not moving on. And that's not because I'm stuck in the past. I suppose I am to a degree, but yeah, I do enjoy looking at old things. I just wish I had more of them. And wish I'd done more, and I wish I'd kept diaries and whatever. So sorry, I'm getting a bit emotional now, but there you go. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
And I'm not. Got a question now. I've moved on again, haven't I? What was the question again regarding?
Therapeutic to write the book.
Right. Okay. So yes, it was cathartic. Maybe call it what you like. And to spend those Sunday afternoons, could do every week. Shush. Up there, writing. Yeah, it was. And yeah, they were happy. They were bad. Sometimes I would play music and put me in sort of the mood or whatever. I just wish I had a better memory because there is so much. I mean, if I was to write the book now, it would be different, totally different, I'm quite sure. Because things since then, since I've written the book, a number of times I said, just remember that, I should have put that in the book, or I should have done that, written that. You forget things, and my memory's terrible. Then again, I've forgotten things that are.
I just need to move the laptop. I don't know if you can hear the rain, but I'm now starting to struggle to hear you. So I just need to move into the kitchen for these last couple of questions. So bear with me. I was just before I go on to the last two questions, I just wanted to know your answer. Did you find this therapeutic, Donna, to write the book? Did it help you? Because you and Gill are very close as well, weren't you? And I imagine it hurt you just as much or very close to as the pain for John.
It depended on the day, to be honest. In some ways, it was quite cathartic, and in other ways, it made it realer than it was real, if it could be even any more real. It's to some extent, I don't say easy, but when you're 6,500 miles away, sometimes you can pretend that somebody's still there, in a way. And so addressing that they're not is pretty hard.
Yeah.
But in other ways, it brought back a lot of happy, funny memories that you do want to share with other people, because you want people to know who Gill was as a woman. That's really, really important, because it was a very big side of her humour, her kindness, all those traits that, even people that met Gill at the shelter or who worked with Gill, some of them didn't know Gill at all. They'd see her as could see her as quite a brusque, busy woman, which she was. But, if any of those people had ever needed her or talked to her, they would have seen the other side of her.
Yeah.
That was the warmest human being on this, in my life. So it's good to be able to share that for anybody that just saw her like a whirling dervish around the shelter, busy. That wasn't everything that Gill was made up of.
Yeah.
And there are things in the book where even supporters that had never met her before, where they've told me things that she stood and talked to them, and they've felt what I and other people that knew her always felt about her, that she would go to the end of the earth for a complete stranger if they needed her.
Yeah.
And that's who she was. So everybody needs to know that about her. She wasn't just busy Gill.
Yeah. So I've got two last questions from, I think this is Sheila. A question to John is, what was your inspiration to create the statue at the Sanctuary of Gill?
It's actually quite easy to answer. It's just a case of putting into words. I'm just going to add to the previous question first when Donna said something, and I mean, it just crossed my mind something else that should have gone in the book, but it didn't. Probably again because the person would recognise themselves, but I remember this person who would not have considered Gill a friend, particularly, but she was desperate and she'd rung her friends and nobody was interested in coming round to help, and this was quite a big problem. I mean, the police were involved in it. And Gill was immediately, I got the call, and Gill was immediately in a car. This was a Sunday evening, I think it was, in the car, probably around this time, driven straight round to sort it out. And I'll tell you now, I remember that situation clearly. She slapped this girl because this girl was hysterical and she had an accident, but it was her fault. She'd had too much to drink and she had a child with her, and she slapped her. I remember later, it's going, Gill slapped me. I thought, yeah, you bet she did. But she sorted it out. She was the one who came, sorted it out, went to the police station, got people in. She was the one that did it. So she didn't mess about, so that was a good answer to this. But the statue, yeah. The reason I did the statue, and it's important to people to realise that, the reason I keep going on about this is because Gill would have been horrified by the statue. I'll tell you that now. She would have been horrified by it. And it's very important to know that not one penny, and I was very particular about this, even down to what happened after it arrived and installing everything, not one penny or cent was used of donations for that statue. And that's not to blow myself up, it's to make sure that people realise that their donations did not go on this. This was a personal thing for me. And it was made in Italy by a known sculptor, quite an elderly sculptor in Verona. And the reason I did it was because that shelter, I'm saying Soi Dog, but that shelter was Gill's inspiration. And my personal inspiration is sterilising dogs. And before, even right to the beginning, Margot she was totally against the shelter. Gill was right, you do need a shelter because you're always going to get dogs that you cannot return. The object is always to return the dog to where it came from. That's why they call it capture, neuter, vaccinate, return, because you want the dogs to go back neutered, they're not breeding, they're guarding the territory. But Gill always wanted a sanctuary for those dogs that could not be returned, and you've always got that. So she was the inspiration behind that. Everything you see there when you go to that centre was her inspiration, she designed everything. The hospital, which is fabulous, I mean, as a hospital goes, and I mean, she wanted to make it 2 stories, I remember. And again, I said, no way, we can't do 2 stories, but not happening. As usual, often, she was right, because the demand on the hospital is huge. I mean, it's normally, it holds already just the dog hospital holds over 150 dogs when it's full at any one time, and these are dogs in treatment, not living there. So she was right there, and she planned that down to the finest detail. And there were people disagreed with her. A lot of people said, waste of money, what are you doing this for? You should be doing this. The same people now think very differently, because it can be used. We use it now for education, for training vets from other countries, Western countries like Laos, Vietnam, Myanmar, where they don't have anything like that, to train them in how to work. And again, I'm going off topic, but I'm trying to give you a bit of background. And what concerned me was this, right? Gill and I, even when she was still alive, were very concerned that Soi Dog continues. We've seen charities in Thailand where the founder, with a better word, decides they're leaving or they can't anymore, and the charity dies. And it was vitally important to us that Soi Dog doesn't. And we focused a lot on getting the right people, getting people in place. I mean, we're volunteers, Donna's a volunteer. We have a lot of volunteers, but we also employ now nearly 300 staff, both in care and elsewhere, both in mobile teams, in Bangkok and elsewhere. And it's important it carries on. Where I'm coming to, though, is that I don't want anybody ever to forget. It doesn't not bother about me. I want nobody to forget that woman, Gill, a normal woman just from the UK, that exists because of her. And it doesn't matter where it's 50 years from now. Anybody going there will know because it says, and her. That's why it's there. I don't want her ever forgetting. I'm sorry, emotional. And that's why I built it. I didn't build it. That's why I had it made. And that's why it's there. To serve as a reminder that wherever you are in that place, wherever you look, it's because of her. And who knows, even in only 2 or 3 years' time, you could be looking at the millions of dogs that have been saved or treated as a result is because of her. And that is why I have that statue done.
Yeah.
And I'm extremely happy. It's the best investment. Somebody once said to me, actually, why did you, that money you could have bought yourself this? I won't tell you what I said to them. It's not repeatable. But the reality is, it's the best money I've ever spent in my life. And if people say, well, he could have spent it on this or that, that is my own personal fund. It's my choice. Yes, I could have gone and bought a new car. I could have got a house or whatever. I didn't. I chose to do that. It's my choice.
Yeah.
I've devoted my life to the dogs. I can choose to spend, I don't want to go off on fancy holidays. Don't want to. So I spent it on a statue. So I'm sorry I got a bit emotional there, but that's the answer. Okay, is that clear enough?
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with emotion. It's just emotion is the truth, isn't it? Emotion brings forward what's real.
Yeah.
So this is the last question. This is more aimed. This was asked of Donna, but if you want to answer it as well, John, obviously feel free. But the question is, what do you miss the most about Gill?
I realise how much I miss Gill when something happens, be it good or bad, and she's the first person I want to tell.
Yeah, it's okay. Okay, this is quite
okay. I miss her the first second every morning when I use my phone to check the time, because if she'd emailed or text during the night, there was always an orange heart on my screen, and I missed that orange heart. When Gill first passed away, I used to still text her, even though I knew she wouldn't read them. And it's not the sort of thing that I would normally do. To me, when somebody's passed, I believe death is final, but I needed to reassure her that we would look after her man. And I was lonely, and it was my way of feeling close to her. Last year, my phone rang, and when I looked at the screen, it said Gill Moby, and the orange heart was flashing. And for 3 seconds, my head was completely in a complete spin. I didn't even want to answer because I knew answering would verify the fact that I knew that it obviously it's not Gill. but your head does weird things. And it was John. Of course, it was John. Something had gone wrong with his phone, and he'd charged Jill's old phone up and rang me from it. But by the time that I actually said hello, I was just complete jelly, because it was just weird. And that little orange heart that you'd been missing so much suddenly came up. I miss her laughter, I miss her naivety, I miss how much fun she was, I miss winding her up, because as cute and streetwise as Gill Dalley was, she was also very, very naive and very shockable. So she would believe anything that you said, even if you were saying it joking. Her eyes would just, and you'd actually have to explain that you were just winding somebody up, and she'd been listening, and she thought that was, and she was comedy gold, as far as if you're a bit of a wind up merchant. I don't know. I miss the mutual love that we have for my dog Polo. I see a lot of Gill in Polo, and with regard to her bravery and some of her attitude as well. And in some regard, that's something very, very precious that I've got left, that's part of Gill, because Gill nursed her. And by saying that, I hope that Gill's not somewhere missing us, because I know that we would cope missing her better than she would cope missing us. And if she could see us missing her, she would feel it 10 times worse, because she felt things more for other people than us. And that's it. I still can't go back and read her emails. I have one printed off. That's the only one I've got printed off, and it's sort of my go-to thing about Gill, and it just says, "God love you, love. I love you so much." And it was her last email.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah. Did you want to add anything to that, John, or do you think Donna's kind of covered?
I think Donna's. I can't really answer. I mean, it's yeah. I mean, I miss. Well, of course, I miss everything. Probably the thing I miss is actually more. And this is something that people should think about, probably. What I miss most is no longer having the ability to tell her what I should have been telling her and what she wanted to hear every day when she was alive. And the fact that I no longer have that ability to do that is, yeah, that's a pain, very painful. It's a bit almost like, I used to, every Christmas, a few days up to Christmas, we'd have traditions, and I would read with voices and everything, Dickens' A Christmas Carol. And in that, of course, you get Jacob Marley, who's regretting he no longer has the ability. He sees it and wishes he could do something about it, and he can't. And now, yeah, I regret that, I'm from Mars, Gill's from Venus, so, never the twain shall meet and all this crap. But there you go. I do wish now I could turn the clock back, and you can't. But I miss everything about her. Of course I do. Well, not everything. I mean, she did have a couple. I mean, they don't give this opinion here that Gill was a saint. She wouldn't want that. She said she wanted warts and all in the book. And yeah, she had parts, yeah, that, used to drive me up the wall, same as things about me used to drive her up the wall. But one thing you learn in a relationship, or should learn in a relationship, you accept people as they are, and you don't try and change them. If you're trying to change, you shouldn't have married them in the first place. You marry the people for what they are. And if you want to change them, then you shouldn't have married them. And word of wisdom to finish with. So it's a difficult question for me to answer that. Yeah.
It was a hard. To be fair, it was a hard question to answer on, and I appreciate the honesty and the willingness to answer all of those questions, because a lot of them were very emotional, and it can be hard to lay yourself out there. So thank you both for doing that. Thank you both very much for doing this interview with me. I know it's been a long one, but I think it's definitely worth it. I obviously never met Gill, but working on this book and talking to you guys and everything that I've learned about her, she seems like the most incredible woman, and it would have been an honor to meet her, but instead I get to meet you guys and learn about her through that and the book, and that's amazing. So thank you very much. Thank you for bringing the book to us, and thank you for giving us this opportunity to work with you. We really appreciate it. To everybody who's watched this video, thanks for bearing with us. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any more questions, please send them. We might do another interview, or I might pass them on to you guys if you ever feel like answering them. And you can you can buy the book now. It'll be available now. You can buy the book online at our website, victorinapress.com, or for the Soi Dog Foundation website. Thank you for joining me this evening, guys. Well, this evening for John, this morning for Donna. And I hope you have a wonderful week.
Thanks, Sophie, and thanks everyone at Victorina. Thank you. Take care.
Excellent.